João is originally from Portugal and migrated to Sweden in 2017. He was 29 years old. Being a digital marketeer back in his country, he arrived to Sweden with his girlfriend to start a whole new life. In this interview, João shares that friendship is a big help when we decide to move to another country, and also he introduces us to his awesome project, MutualDNA. Enjoy! So, João, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm really happy because you have a very interesting anecdote to tell us about. You moved to Sweden from Portugal, so tell us about it.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I think it wasn't that difficult, especially because both of the countries are from the European Union, so it's not that easy to move from one country to the other. But the main reasons, I think, for me, they were quite personal. And first of all, I wanted to know more about the Swedish culture. That was a thing I was looking for specifically. Not only I had the desire to move to another country, of course, but I really wanted it to be Sweden. And I think that's connected to the way that I grew up a little bit with some, well, I wouldn't call it Swedish influence, but since I'm a big fan of cinema, I was always attached to the Swedish cinema because Ingmar Bergman is one of the greatest directors ever, and he's Swedish. So in some way, I grew up with these landscapes that he portrays in his movies and all these themes and subjects. So, I don't know, attractive in some way that I kind of fell in love with the country even before visiting the country. So I think the main reason was, a cultural reason in general.
That's awesome, because I don't believe there is a similitude in between Portuguese culture than Swedish culture. Am I correct? Is there anything similar?
No, well, I don't think so. If you look at details, no. But I think the culture in Europe in general, it's quite the same. And well, and even looking at the world, I think humans are quite the same all over. So in the end, the difference is not that big. But of course, that if you look at details, the way of living and behavior and everything is a little bit different.
Yeah. So you were saying that it was very specific that you wanted to move there. Why? Like you already told us about all the influence that you got, but there must be something bigger.
Well, I don't know. I think it's my own desire to explore the world, I think. And it's not that I've been traveling that much, but in Europe, I know quite a few countries. And I think one of the most interesting cultures in Europe for me was the Nordic culture. So if you put that and the interest for Sweden in terms of culture, Swedish culture, in the same place, I think it's a very easy pick for me. I've lived in the Netherlands before, and I think it's also an amazing country. But there's something in Sweden that I can't find anywhere else. I don't know what.
That's awesome. So what are the qualities of Sweden?
Well, there's the basic stuff, I would say, and that basic stuff, which is not that basic in all countries, unfortunately, is, I think, health. Also the way they look at work and the way that they privilege the workers and the employees. I think that's quite important, and that you feel valuable as a person and as an employee. That's really important, and that's something Sweden does a lot. And I would say that's a big difference from Portugal. It's not that Portugal is a bad country, it's just that it lacks in some aspects, and one of them is the respect for the employees, I think.
Yeah, at the end, I believe it's not about the country, it's about what you want from another country, because maybe someone from Sweden would move to Portugal and they would say, I don't have so many things that I have here in Portugal. So it's not about the country. Definitely. Because a lot of people might think that when we immigrate, we are migrating because of a lack of
things.
Yeah.
And it's not because of that. It's about knowing or wanting more, and then that desire that you keep inside of yourself, which is a passion. It's not a need, right?
Exactly.
So how
Yeah.
many languages do you speak? Because now you told me that you lived in Netherlands, that now you're in Sweden, then you speak English, of course, Portuguese.
Well, but to be honest, I don't speak Dutch, and I don't really speak Swedish. So this is quite stupid because yeah, I had the opportunity to learn Dutch, but I haven't lived there for that many times. So it was quite a short time. But now I've been living in Sweden for more than a year, and I still can't speak Swedish in a regular way. So I don't speak that many languages. I speak a little bit of French because that's something you learn in Portugal when you're a kid, and Spanish and Portuguese and English, of course.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. So you have the flexibility to work in your job in English most of the time, or how do
Yeah.
you? Yeah, everything's in English.
Yeah, I work as a digital marketeer, so you could say that my main language is the universal language, which is English. Of course, that if I work with content, I need to work with the local language. In this case, it's Swedish. And of course, that I think it's important to learn the language in midterm, at least. But yeah, I don't use Swedish at all at my work.
Well, it's very interesting because I'm not sure if it's everywhere in the American continent, but we, for example, in Canada, where I'm living, we are really asked to speak either our English or French, which are the official languages in Canada. And unless you're working for an other kind of industry,
Yeah.
I don't believe you will be able to still speak another language than the language of the country that you migrated to. So it's really I don't know. I believe it might be reassuring to be able to speak in the language that you already know and dominate, and you can communicate with.
Yeah, I think it's a big difference. And it's quite amazing that you go to the supermarket or anywhere, and when they start to speak in Swedish with you, of course, and when you start speaking English, it's so natural for them to change, and they are completely okay with it. It's like they don't behave like, okay, you don't speak Swedish. No, it's so natural. It's the same. It doesn't matter. And that's, of course, very easy when you move to this country, I think.
So migration has been something more natural in the European Union because I believe it's because of the countries. They are so small, you can jump from one to another. They
I
have
think so.
embraced.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's general in all, well, not all Europe, but most countries in Europe, it's completely okay to speak English. Of course, it depends on what you do. If you're a doctor, probably you need to speak the language.
Yes,
But yeah, if you're working for a, let's call it, new digital thing, I think you don't really need to speak the language. Of course, it depends from company to company, but yeah.
Yeah, I believe all the areas of technology, because that's the language. And even, for example, you were saying a doctor, but doctors study their main books are all written in English or German, because those are like the biggest languages for medicine. But going back to your story, like you are a marketing digital marketeer, so was it easy to find your job there? How was that transition?
Well, it wasn't difficult, but I think I need to mention this. I have a friend living in Sweden, a close friend for some years now, and he helped me a lot. So that's a big difference, I think, because if you're coming alone without knowing anyone, I think it can be much more difficult. But for me specifically, I had the opportunity to visit the country before really moving, and I had a place to stay, so I could find I could schedule interviews to companies and stuff like that. So it was easy for me to really give it a trial first before really moving with everything or without anything. I was here first without a job, then I got a job, then I moved, well, I didn't move back, but I went back to Portugal and then I moved again to Sweden. Because the first time I came to Sweden, the idea wasn't to move right away. It was by chance, I think, that I got a job. So.
And how often do you go to Portugal?
Well, I would say that 3 times a year.
Yeah, so you're not affected on actually feeling homesick in any way, or do you?
No, not really. I think that, well, being in Europe, it's easier, of course, because I'm not that far away. And of course, we have all this new technology to speak with our family and friends and whatever. But I think that the biggest difference that you feel is it looks like your life at home, at your country, is just paused. And when you go back, it looks like everything is kind of the same. So it's a little bit weird. I don't know. But yeah, I don't feel homesick, at least that often.
Yeah. Or the lives of your friends move on. They move on, they start getting married or having kids or moving to another country as well. And you lose that kind of.
In a way, yes, you lose it. But at the same time, no, because you have this, well, again, Skype and all these tools and phones, mobile phones and everything, and the internet connection is so good these days. So it's quite easy to keep track, like almost every day, of everyone if you want to. But of course, it's not the same as being with the person physically.
Yes.
Yeah, you lose that, of course.
Yeah, because like, or for example, holidays, how do you spend them? Do you spend them in Sweden or back in Portugal?
In Portugal, about the holidays is more, it has deeper roots, I think, in terms of family. Not that they don't connect with the family in Sweden, they do, of course, but I think it's different. It's a different way. I think Spain, Portugal, and even Italy, they share like this main thing with the family, where the older people in the family are like the center of everything. And I don't think they do the same in Sweden. I think it's different. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever thought on going back? Like, everything seems super stable for you right now.
Yeah, I don't think I will go back soon. Of course, it's impossible to say in 10 years. I don't know. You never know.
Yes.
But in short term, no. I think that what happens when you move after the first month, because everything is so new and amazing, is when you settle down, you get this fake feeling that, okay, now I start to miss home, maybe things are different, maybe I should go back because my family is there. But I think that's fake in some way, because when you really move back, and I had that, I did that when I was in the Netherlands, so I tested it myself. When you move back, at first it looks like, okay, yeah, I miss my family, it makes sense to be here. But after a while, everything that you have valued in your country, that the country that you were living in, you start to see it like the priority. And family, they're always there. So, and it's kind of fake. Again, I'm saying fake because you think, okay, if I go back to my home country, I'll be with my friends every day and my family like almost every day. But that's not true. There are some friends that even they live in the same city and you just see once a month. Yeah. So, yeah.
We idealize things, no?
Yeah.
It's like idealizing that, oh, well, if I was there, maybe I could have, or I would have been there. Exactly. And yeah, I try to go at least once per year to Mexico. And even if that feels often, because 3 times per year, I don't believe that's regular for a normal immigrant, but or unless you are in Europe where countries are very small. But for example, for me, even if that's often, I'm like, oh, if I was in Mexico, I could, la la la. And sometimes we start wondering and thinking that the best things were there, not here.
Yeah, true.
It's hard to keep the mindset and say, well, to remember the main things that moved you to the new country.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it can be quite easy to separate the reality from fiction or whatever you can call it. Yeah.
Or comparing things, because that's very common and normal. I believe it's human nature to start comparing things, like, for example, I don't know, stores close in different hours, the schedule of the bus is different, or the food or the treat or the service are super different from one to another. And then, I don't know, it seems like the biggest package was in your country.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the stores, because I was just speaking about it right now, and we were talking about the difference at when things close and open here, because it's a big difference from Sweden to Portugal. And we were just talking about like a coffee place to close at 4, for example, during a Saturday or a Sunday. That it doesn't make any sense, especially because it's still summer. So yeah, it's quite funny.
Yeah, here they close all stores at 5 on weekends. And in Mexico, you're used to, for all stores and like movie theater, like they close the movies, they close at 1 a.m. in the morning. I don't know,
Yeah.
or restaurants or even bars and nightclubs, they're open until 6 a.m. And
Yeah.
they close every weekend at 5, so you have to rush, and then you feel like there's nothing else to do on your weekend because there's nowhere to go.
Yeah, I can relate with that. Yeah.
Well, we are at the end. Well, we come from very hot places. Maybe that's why we want to continue doing things.
Yeah.
How many friends do you have that are from other countries? Is this regular in Sweden to be multicultural?
Yes, I think so, because most of my friends are not Swedish. Well, of course, I have friends from work that are Swedish, but outside of work, I would say that most of them are from Italy, or wherever, France, random countries. So I don't know. I think that's one point, in fact, which is not easy, and I think. And I don't know if I should talk about it right now, but I think the biggest difficulty here is, of course, make friends. But I think that's everywhere. That's not only in Sweden. And that's, again, like a fake sense of reality, because most people say, no, but in Portugal, Spain, or Italy, it's so easy to make friends because they are so warm and everything. But I think that's a lie, to be honest. I think that's everywhere. When you move to a new place, if you don't know anyone or just a few people, it's not easy, because it's not like when you were kids that you're 10 years old and you can just speak with anyone and that's okay.
Yeah, now that you're saying that, I believe, yes, you're super right on that. And I was just wondering, did you meet those friends before you moved, or did you meet them there while you were living in Sweden?
Well, again, in my experience, since I had a friend already living here, it was quite easy to connect with those people because they're friends of my friend. So it's different. And it was the same when I was in the Netherlands. So I think, I don't know, in general, it should be super difficult to meet new people. Especially, I think this might sound stupid, but especially if you're not moving alone. I think when you move alone by yourself, you get more motivated to meet more people and you kind of try to do more stuff. But when you move with girlfriend, husband, brother, whatever, you kind of get more stuck to that person because it's the person you know, and you don't feel so motivated to just go outside and meet new people. So yeah,
definitely. I migrated by myself, and my friends were like, I didn't have friends like you, for example. I didn't have anybody. and while I was doing all the activities that you want to do, because as well at the beginning of your migration, I don't know if you agree with that, it's kind of honeymoon, and you want to go and tour everywhere and take pictures, and this weekend I'm going to go here and there, and you are kind of in an unrealistic life.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you start, that's how you start meeting people.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
But when I was thinking, you mentioned that you have a lot of friends which are not from Sweden, which is super interesting as well, because that means that we, the weirdos, are are connecting with each other.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's much easier to connect with someone whose past or past life has not been in the country because, well, I don't know, when you grow up in a place, you kind of see things differently. And this is not good or bad, but it's just the way that you connect to people. You don't really need to connect to new people, I think. At least that's my experience in Portugal. When I met someone from another country, it wasn't like, oh my God, I need to connect with this person. I didn't feel that because it's my country, it's my city, so nothing's new for me, only that person. But come on, I can just meet new people, it's easy.
I believe because we can relate and we can tell our same stories and we have the same questions at the end, like how did you do this, or these documents, how did you fill this form up, or what did they tell you? And like the main source of information is not those from the government, but those from our friends, which is going to be easier and simpler. So now I wanted to ask you about MutualDNA project. Tell us about that.
Well, I think that's quite a natural project for me. First of all, because I've been always connected with communication projects since a very young age. I had a lot of projects connected with journalism and interviewing people. They were more connected with culture, specifically music, I would say. But I think that when I moved and when I started to see like the many different visions and perspectives that people have, but at the same time, the way they see things in the same way, I thought, okay, I need to do something with this. So it was natural for me because it's the kind of projects that I want to create. So that's why MutualDNA was born. And it wasn't difficult at first to get people to interview because I have a lot of friends living everywhere. So of course my first connection were Portuguese people that live in the world. But it's funny to see now how the thing is spreading and how I'm connecting with people living in Japan, Canada, wherever. And I think that's the fun part of it. At least that's my goal with the project, also to meet people, connect with them and learn with them, because I think there's only one way to learn in life, and that's through people. It's not really through books or through anything. You don't learn by reading a book. You do, but you learn specific stuff. You don't learn about life. To learn about life, I think you need to deal with people. Otherwise, it's impossible because you need to deal with emotions.
Yeah. So for those who don't know MutualDNA, tell us about what you do with the people that you connect with. What's the dynamic?
Well, it's quite easy. Basically, it's an interview project in text. It's not video or podcast or anything. And basically, the main subject is why people moved, what were the differences between the countries they were living in and the countries they are living now. I think it all goes around the same subject, which is culture in general, and their own perspective of culture and living. And then I asked for a really specific thing, which I think it's really important and it connects people in an amazing way, which is a recipe.
Yeah.
And I think that after language, food is what connects people, because it's a really natural thing for people. Like speaking, you need to eat, you need to. So it's like the second thing, like being a human being, that can really connect you with someone or a country or a culture or anything. So I think that's why it's important when I interview someone.
Yeah, and then we as guests can, well, or not guests, we can go and check all the other recipes that that the other participants gave, and see that, like, the roots of our food. Because, for example, Mexico has Spanish roots, but Spain has Arabic roots, and everybody is connected by food. So I really love that project of yours. What are you expecting to do after? Like, when imagine that you already have 1 million recipes, 1 million different stories, 1 million different immigrants all over the world. What about that?
Well, I think then it's time for step 2. And step 2 basically involves people. And I think that the people that I interview that I'm interested in, they should speak more about their personal experiences. And regarding the recipes, there are a lot of people who are not like cooks or professional cooks or anything, but they love to make food. So I think the next step could be doing something with restaurants, so connecting immigrants to restaurants and the recipes and everything, and connecting not only more immigrants, because I think connecting immigrants, it's really important, but I think it's more important to connect people, and it's important to connect immigrants with local people.
Of course,
I think that's really important, because exactly, and in my experience that I'm living in Sweden, of course that I like to connect with people from all over the world, but I think it should be relevant and important to connect with Swedish people, of course, and it should be important for them to connect with people from the outside, because they can learn so much. Everyone can learn so much.
When I learned about your project, I was super amazed, and I definitely thought that this could be a beautiful project of several, I don't know, volumes of recipes from the world. I was just imagining opening my book and saying, I want to eat Chinese today, but real Chinese, from a Chinese that's explaining me step by step how to cook this delicious meal, or Portuguese or Spanish or whatever it is. So I believe that it's an amazing idea. I hope, I know that you're getting a lot of participation in this project. I see you're very active. I'm always there checking on your posts on Instagram, and I'm really happy that you're doing this for all the world. As you were mentioning, it's not only for immigrants, it's for all the world, because at the same time you're informing all the people about what's happening with us and our cultures, which is great. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. And I think that your project is quite similar to mine. That's why I feel kind of connected in this way with the project, because I can really see it, and I can really see what you do in the back, because it's really hard work. And sometimes, well, of course you have your own personal motives like I do, but it's not like we're going to get rich or anything with this. It's not like that's the main difference, I think, because these kind of projects are not really like I wouldn't call it professional or not, but they're not really like something that we're going to invest, like music, for example, that you can live with your music, and that's beautiful. But in this case, it's only, we're doing this for ourselves, and of course we're doing this for the people. So I think that the great gratification that we can get is the comments from people, and the shares, and everything people can learn with each other. So
it's to bring us all together. The main point is to bring us all together to, I believe, for example, in your project or my project, the main reason is to integrate everybody together, even if it's for a taste of meal, or even if it's for information or in introduction of successful immigrants as you to the world. I believe at the end, the main reason is to put us all together, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I believe we could spend more time together talking about other different things, and I hope that this is not going to be the last time. I want to thank you very, very much for your time. I know how busy you are in weeks, and now today, I don't know, it's 6 p.m. and it's Sunday or something like that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's around that time, yeah.
So thank you for spending your evening of weekend with me and with all of us. We are going to be checking on your Instagram and your social media. I'm going to put them in the blog or all the information about you. So if you want to contact João, you will have the information there. He's eager to know your recipes from all over the world. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. I think for me, it's really important to make this connection, not only because of my project, but as a human myself. I think that's the way, that's the reason why we are living. It's to connect with people and to learn more. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
No, thank you, João.